back to our channel, your premier destination for the most in-depth analysis of The Young and the Restless. Today is a thrilling day to unpack the explosive drama erupting in Genoa City as power struggles, bitter rivalries, and romantic entanglements collide in spectacular fashion. Let us dive right into the latest shocking developments. The atmosphere inside the Shadow Room was nothing short of electric, a pulsating symphony of neon lights, thumping bass, and the clinking of crystal glasses as the absolute elite of Genoa City gathered to celebrate Noah Newman's highly anticipated grand opening. Noah had poured his heart, soul, and considerable resources into this venture, transforming a mere concept into a tangible, breathtaking reality that stood as a testament to his creative genius and entrepreneurial spirit. By his side stood Sienna Bacall, a woman whose journey to this glamorous night had been paved with unimaginable hardships. Having survived the darkest, most treacherous corners of the Las Vegas underworld and the psychological torment inflicted by the psychopathic Matt Clark, Sienna viewed this night as the ultimate triumph of her resilience. She was wearing a stunning, elegant gown that contrasted sharply with the gritty survival instincts that defined her core. However, the glittering facade of the evening was deeply threatened by the arrival of a woman who specialized in calculated destruction, Audra Charles. Audra, armed with her signature blend of ruthless ambition and intoxicating charm, had returned to Genoa City with a singular, unwavering objective to reclaim Noah Newman and the prestigious status that came with being by his side. Audra Charles is not a woman who accepts defeat, nor is she one to respect the established boundaries of a new relationship. From the moment she stepped into the Shadow Room, she operated with the precision of a heat-seeking missile locked onto Noah. She utilized their shared history from their tumultuous time in London, intentionally bringing up inside jokes and intimate memories designed to exclude Sienna from the conversation. Audra's strategy was clear: to make Sienna feel like an uncultured outsider who was entirely out of her depth in the sophisticated world of the Newmans. Audra hovered around Noah with an air of possessive entitlement, her smiles dripping with passive-aggressive condescension whenever she was forced to acknowledge Sienna's presence. Noah, ever the optimist who desperately wanted to believe the best in people, naively interpreted Audra's lingering touches and whispered comments as mere friendly support. He was completely oblivious to the vicious psychological warfare being waged right in front of him, leaving Sienna to silently absorb the venomous barbs being thrown her way. The underlying tension finally reached a boiling point on the evening of June 10th. Sienna, who had spent her entire life fighting off predators and manipulators, decided she had endured enough of Audra's thinly veiled disrespect. She cornered Audra away from the main crowd, her eyes blazing with a fierce, protective fire. Sienna delivered a stern, uncompromising warning, demanding that Audra back off and respect the relationship she had built with Noah. Sienna's tone was low, dangerous, and absolute, carrying the weight of a woman who had literally fought for her life and would not hesitate to fight for her love. But Audra, fueled by her own boundless hubris and a deeply ingrained superiority complex, flatly refused to back down. She laughed in Sienna's face, dismissing the warning as the pathetic insecurity of a woman who knew she was ultimately disposable. Audra made it abundantly clear that she intended to win Noah back, setting the stage for a brutal and highly public showdown that would shatter the celebratory atmosphere of the club. Rather than heed Sienna's warning, Audra decided to escalate the conflict to a devastating new level. During the pinnacle of the grand opening event, with key investors, socialites, and Noah himself standing nearby, Audra launched a calculated, highly public attack. She loudly and brazenly declared that Sienna was entirely the wrong woman for a man of Noah's stature. Audra's voice cut through the music as she methodically dismantled Sienna's character, heavily implying that Sienna's relationship with Noah was merely a temporary, charitable distraction. Audra threw biting, sarcastic remarks about Sienna's lack of refinement and sophistication, loudly questioning how a woman with such a gritty, checkered past could possibly possess the business acumen or the social grace required to help run a high-end establishment like the Shadow Room. The public humiliation was absolute, designed to make Sienna feel small, inadequate, and entirely unwelcome in the world she was desperately trying to integrate into. Noah was instantly caught in the crossfire of this explosive confrontation, paralyzed by the sudden, vicious nature of the dispute. As the hushed whispers of the Genoa City elite rippled through the room, Noah attempted to step in and play the peacemaker, desperately trying to de-escalate the situation before it ruined the entire evening. However, Audra masterfully executed her next move by immediately playing the victim card. She widened her eyes, adopting an expression of shocked innocence, acting as though Sienna's defensive reaction was an act of unprovoked, irrational aggression. Audra forced Noah into an agonizing corner, implicitly demanding that he choose between keeping the peace with a powerful, well-connected corporate ally and defending his girlfriend's honor in front of a room full of judgmental peers. The intense pressure fractured the romantic atmosphere, leaving Sienna feeling utterly humiliated, isolated, and profoundly unsupported by the man she loved in her moment of greatest vulnerability. Sienna retreated from the public eye, her heart pounding with a volatile mixture of profound embarrassment and unadulterated, burning rage. She realized in that agonizing moment that playing by the rules of polite society would never work against a ruthless predator like Audra Charles. If Audra wanted to play dirty and utilize public humiliation as a weapon, Sienna was more than prepared to drag her down into the deepest, darkest mud. Sienna's survival instincts, honed in the unforgiving streets of Las Vegas, kicked into high gear. She knew that to truly defeat a corporate shark, you could not just attack their personal life. You had to completely obliterate their professional credibility. Sienna made the fateful decision to strike back with lethal precision, turning her attention to the whispered rumors and dark secrets surrounding Audra's past in Los Angeles. Sienna began a covert, exhaustive investigation into Audra's history, utilizing her gritty resourcefulness and an unrelenting determination to uncover the truth. She remembered the fragmented stories involving Holden Novak and the shadowy financial dealings that had always seemed to follow Audra like a dark cloud. Sienna spent countless sleepless nights digging through digital footprints, tracking down old contacts, and piecing together a complex puzzle of corporate espionage, embezzlement, and ruthless blackmail. She was not just looking for petty gossip. She was hunting for the ultimate silver bullet that would not only remove Audra from Noah's orbit but destroy her reputation in the business world entirely. Sienna's focus was absolute, driven by the burning memory of the humiliation she had suffered at the Shadow Room. The investigation yielded explosive results. Sienna struck absolute gold when she uncovered a massive trove of old text messages, encrypted emails, and highly confidential financial records that painted a damning, undeniable picture of Audra's illegal activities in Los Angeles. The evidence detailed massive financial scandals, deceptive accounting practices, and a history of utilizing blackmail to climb the corporate ladder, specifically tying her to the dark events surrounding Holden Novak. This was no longer just about a romantic rivalry over Noah Newman. This was about exposing a dangerous, calculating criminal who was masquerading as a legitimate businesswoman. Sienna realized with a sense of grim satisfaction that she held the power to completely dismantle Audra's carefully constructed facade of superiority and exile her from the Genoa City elite forever. Sienna was methodical and utterly ruthless in her vengeance. She knew that if she presented the evidence directly to Noah, Audra would effortlessly spin it as the desperate, fabricated lies of a jealous, insecure girlfriend. To ensure maximum, irreversible impact, the execution of her plan had to be flawless and entirely anonymous. Sienna carefully compiled the damning photographs, the illegal bank transfers, and the incriminating text messages into a comprehensive, devastating dossier. She packaged the explosive information securely, utilizing encrypted channels to ensure there was absolutely no digital trail leading back to her. The target of this calculated strike was not just Noah Newman, but the entire board of directors of the Shadow Room, ensuring that Audra's downfall would be public, professional, and permanent. The anonymous dossiers arrived simultaneously at the desks of Noah Newman and the key board members of the Shadow Room. The timing was impeccable. striking just as Audra believed she had successfully asserted her dominance and gained the upper hand in the social hierarchy of the club. Noah opened the manila envelope, his eyes scanning the detailed financial documents and the cruel, manipulative text messages in absolute, stunned disbelief. The woman he had once loved deeply in London, the woman he had defended against his own family's intense suspicions, was exposed before his eyes as a ruthless and repentant fraud. The severe financial and legal implications for the Shadow Room were terrifying, forcing the board to take immediate, drastic action to protect their investment and their reputation. An urgent, mandatory emergency board meeting was instantly convened, and an unsuspecting Audra Charles was summoned to face the music. She walked into the luxurious boardroom with her head held high, fully expecting to discuss marketing strategies or expansion plans for the club, only to be met with a suffocating wall of icy, judgmental stares. Noah sat at the head of the heavy mahogany table, the explosive dossier open before him, his expression a mixture of profound sorrow and simmering anger. The atmosphere in the room was thick with impending doom. The board members, without a word of pleasantry, presented Audra with the undeniable, concrete proof of her financial crimes and deceitful practices from her time in Los Angeles. Audra's flawless mask of sophisticated arrogance shattered into a million irreparable pieces in an instant. Cornered, panicking, and facing the total destruction of her career, Audra attempted a desperate, flailing defense. She frantically claimed that the documents were elaborate forgeries, a vicious smear campaign designed by her unnamed enemies to ruin her standing in the company. She pleaded with Noah to believe her, trying to manipulate his emotions one last time. But the evidence was simply too detailed, too perfectly corroborated by dates, times, and financial records. Her desperate lies unraveled in real time under the intense scrutiny of the board. The directors moved swiftly and unanimously to immediately strip her of her position, her equity, and her influence within the Shadow Room. The brutal public humiliation she had so gleefully inflicted upon Sienna was returned to her 100-fold, as she was professionally and socially exiled from the very empire she had sought to ruthlessly control. As Audra was unceremoniously escorted out of the building by security, Noah was left sitting in the empty boardroom grappling with a devastating, overwhelming sense of betrayal. He felt incredibly foolish and naive for having trusted her, for allowing her to manipulate her way back into his life, and for failing to defend Sienna more fiercely when she was being publicly attacked. The romanticized illusion of Audra Charles was dead and buried. Yet, amidst his profound pain and professional crisis, Noah remained completely and blissfully oblivious to the dark truth. He had no idea that the woman currently rushing to comfort him, the woman holding his hand and offering her unwavering support, was the silent, Machiavellian architect of this entire destruction. Sienna watched the fallout from the shadows, her face a perfect, practiced mask of empathetic concern for Noah's heartbreak, while internally, she was reveling in the intoxicating high of her absolute triumph. She had successfully neutralized the greatest threat to her happiness and secured her relationship with Noah without ever dirtying her own hands in his eyes. However, this monumental victory was built on a massive, unstable foundation of severe deception. Sienna is now harboring a ticking time bomb of a secret. If Noah Newman ever discovers that the woman he loves was the anonymous, ruthless source who orchestrated the leak and destroyed his former lover, the ensuing fallout could obliterate the very relationship she fought so desperately and darkly to protect. The immediate battle for Noah's heart has been won, but the true, lingering danger in Genoa City has only just begun.